podcast, you idiots. I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out, stop it, you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Boldo's Tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikavalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, a pyramid would have fallen.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Oh, Maloney is still intercept. Away goes James Maloney. They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans. Maloney is there. Healy. It's Healy has scored on his departure day. Mitch Healy gets a try. The crowd have gone absolutely bereft.
In amongst all of that, Lat's had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone's like,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know half the time.
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the car going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just not playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away. Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading for the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham, they're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game. And it's away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's the go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franco, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving a different answer?
Go for it. Enough arguments on this podcast. Come on.
You're going to throw out cans, and they're going to play out of cans.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen, field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. Cronulla have won it. 14-12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast. All right, we're live. Can we hear me? All right.
Gotcha, mate.
This is the closest I think we've ever cut it. The Sharks are off the back of 2 losses.
We've been in the green room for the last 30 minutes. Where have you been?
Yeah, I've clearly still lagged and fall asleep. So apologies if anything goes wrong in this show. I have no idea what's about to happen and if my good dear friends have set up the show correctly, but we're going to try our absolute best to help me through it. So the Sharks off the back of 2 head-to-head losses ahead to Brisbane Broncos, but for that we have the Origin match coming up on Wednesday night. Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast that literally falls asleep at the wheel, just like the Sharks defense over the last couple of weeks. Who knows what should happen? And yes, to celebrate the baby Broncos, we even have the baby Boldos. We're live on YouTube and Facebook tonight and available on Spotify, more streaming platforms to follow in the audio space. I do hit the like button if you're enjoying the show and the carry on, and the subscribe button as well to get notified of our videos. On this episode, we will have a very obvious Queensland feel with a preview ahead of the State of Origin. We'll preview this weekend's match against the Brisbane Broncos. We're going to have all of our regular segments, the Shark socials, Lats around the league. Chris is joining in. We've got a full complement of the team. We're even going to have the first show and tell, which leads into a trivia contest, which is going to be really problematic because the thing that we're trivia contesting is in my car, so I'm going to have to leave for one of the segments, so we'll just make do whilst I do that. And then we have the most eagerly awaited segment in all of Sharks-related media and entertainment, the return of Boldo's Tears. Who will be atop them this week? Who is moving up and down? I hear all of you asking, all to be revealed later in the show. We've got a full complement tonight coming in with Kelly off the bench to give his Origin and Broncos previews. I can see him in the green room shaking his head. Let's get straight into it. What is making noise in the socials this week, my friend?
All right, mate. The main question being asked amongst the socials this week is what the hell has happened to our defence over the last month? Sharks fans are extremely concerned about the 100-plus points that we've allowed opposition teams to score on us over the last 3 matches, with Fitzy blaming defensive lapses for our losses to the Eels last week. It's a massive contrast to the rock-solid defence we've shown over the first 10 rounds this season, with Fitzy also addressing in last week's post-match press conference that we need to strip things back to basics and go from there. Very concerning, though. Let's hope the boys can get back on top of it before our season slips too far. Due to results going in our favour, though, over the weekend, we are still equal first with 5 differential points separating us and Melbourne. So maybe that 2 points that we didn't take against Penrith at the end there might come into play. Who knows? Time will tell.
Ridiculous.
Alrighty.
You're talking about taking the 2 when you're 42-0 down. And having an impact in the finals. A lot of other stuff's gone wrong that year. It's moot point.
Fair enough, mate.
Concern is the defence, though. That's straight off the bat. I don't know if whoever was involved in the debrief the other night, Kelly. Yeah, we're all concerned. We're all worried. I'm still not feeling any happier than I was on Thursday night when I was ranting and raving. But anyway.
Yep.
Apparently we don't rant and rave enough on this show, Williams.
True.
Apparently we need to rant and rave more.
Yeah, we
did get that.
I'll just let you know, Boldo. I've gone a bit fancy with the slides this week, mate. So I've sort of, if you tap another few times, the scores from the last few weeks will come up.
All right.
Oh yeah.
I hope.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
there we go.
How good.
expert.
Alrighty, that seems to be the theme through the actual through the slides tonight, mate. So you might have to be on top of it.
Oh, I'll work it out.
Moving on, Origin. There's a lot of frustration amongst Shark socials at the moment in regards to Origin scheduling, with plenty of fans on Team Kelly looking for alternative options. With the majority of people wanting a standalone tournament at the season's end, I, however, don't agree with this. I don't think it'll work as well, since only half the competition play over the final series and that last sort of month of football. So we'll only see half of the competition there. Hard to go off current form in that case. The idea was also floated of a 6-week representative break mid-season where Origins played fortnight apart over the 6 weeks. And on the weekends of those rep rounds, we play some international matches where of ineligible teams. Some good ideas being floated. I guess these fans are just frustrated, though, in regards to our form slump and the players that we're missing in Cam and Nico over the last sort of couple of seasons. We haven't really had to worry about that due to low representation. And again, you're lagging on those slides there, Boldo. You just tap that.
All right, I meant
boom.
to do that.
Alrighty. Yeah, so there's a bit of frustration in regards to Origin, and I guess now with the team list announced today, Nico's out for 2 games as a result of it. I wasn't expecting him to play, but I think Captain Cam he'll back up if the game's on Thursday morning. So I think
might
we'll
be
be
some
right there.
gamesmanship with that name team, Lats. I don't think Nico's necessarily not playing yet. I think it's not worth.
He's not listed, so he can't play.
Yeah, if he's not in the 22.
Yeah, because they've never brought in 23rd man or anything like that, have they?
You can't do that. You need to have him on the extended
years ago,
bench.
mate. Can't do that anymore.
It's not 1998 anymore. You can't bring up the guy from reserve grade. He's got to be on the extended bench, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, unless it's some kind of emergency injury replacement. Franco, forgive me if I'm wrong, but that's my
No,
understanding.
you're correct. Yep.
Yeah.
But you have to go to the NRL for dispensation to say, argue your case as to why.
Yeah.
Right. I saw Phil Gould and Paul Gallen chatting on their 100% footy show, and Phil Gould did nail it with the point of view on the broadcast rights is that the Wednesday nights just works for State of Origin, so they're not going to change that away from that. It's just not going to happen. I think
shut the comp down for 3 weeks, have 3 consecutive Wednesdays, have internationals on the weekend, call it a 4-week break.
You don't need that.
You don't need a 10-week camp.
If we're talking about what we've seen on TV, Gordon Tallis came out and said that sort of scenario wouldn't work either because of how intense Origin is. He doesn't reckon a lot of players would come out of that 3-week Origin back to back unscathed. So you reckon the football's too hard, too fast, and if you do that, a lot of those players wouldn't be surviving till the end of the season.
There's 2 reasons.
Origin.
Okay.
Origin.
It'll be all about club and international football stuff. Origin. Anyway,
fair enough.
Just for those that can't see him, Chris Kelly is shaking his head in disgust in the green room. You'll hear all about it in the not too distant future, no doubt. Anyway,
fair enough. All right, on to the next.
Alrighty. Contract whispers. It's been reported over several platforms in the last 24 hours that the Bunnies have shown a keen interest in luring Big Royce Hunt to the Rabbitohs. Royce is contracted to us until the end of the 2025 season. However, with AFB coming next year and us having plenty of depth in the forwards, we're expecting to shed a player or two. So maybe Royce, maybe one of those players. We'll have to see. They're apparently prepared to offer him quite a bit more than what he's currently on with us, though. So see what happens with that. The club has also reportedly activated a clause in Big Tommy's contract with which ties him to the club until the end of next season. Boldo, if you could just hit the button. Thanks, mate. And are reportedly working to lock him up on a long-term contract. The club are also reportedly in contract negotiations with Cale Iro and Jack Williams, so maybe Royce will be that sacrificial lamb next season when AFB arrives. And, Boldo, click.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And click again.
I thought I did click again.
And again. And there goes Royce.
he's so good on the
Razzle dazzle.
He was great.
Thought you'd like that one. He was gun. He was huge. I had him up there with one of my.
I'd like him to stick around. I think we've always sort of said with him, when he gets a string of games together, uninjured, he goes from strength to strength, and towards the back end of the seasons, we've seen how empowering he is. I just think, it'd be a shame to lose him, but in this scenario, if the contract's in our favour, if it's a scenario where all parties agree and are happy and we get something out of it, then I guess watch this space.
Yeah. I don't know if you boys, I was talking to you earlier, but I'm just wondering what's happening there with Amlin Ueli. It seems to be very hush-hush. He plays a game, then he doesn't play a couple of games, and there's not really much around an injury. So if any of our listeners know anything that we don't, please pop it in the comments and inform us. That would be great. But it's an interesting one. That I don't know what's going on there.
Has he been dropped this week because I didn't think he was any good? You think it's that?
Don't believe he's been dropped.
No. And I haven't heard anything of him being injured, so
unless
that knee's giving him grief.
Has anyone seen the Newtown team? Yeah, they're managing his load. Yeah, it's unknown. Obviously, hopefully it's nothing too sinister or anything. If they're keeping things under wraps, we send our love and best wishes to him and the club. If that's not that we know anything, but if that something like that is happening, hopefully not. But
he is not listed for the Jets.
Yeah, mysterious.
Okay.
He can't play on the weekend either, can he, Franco?
Cannot play on the weekend either. Correct.
Alrighty, while we're talking about the Jets,
it's also a trend from the Sharks to sign up their guys earlier to contracts and get a little bit of saving by doing that. And so I think that's one of the current strategies by the GM. All right, on to the next.
On to the next, mate. Speaking of the Jets, the high-flying Newtown Jets made it 5 wins on the trot, defeating Parramatta and jumping to 3rd on the ladder, landing only 1 win off joint leaders, the Raiders and the Bears. I don't really want to allude too much about a streak because we know what happened last time we spoke about it, but they're going really well and they're up against the Roosters this week and can make it 6 on the fly. This game, though, against the Eels, tries to Hiroti, Ison, Burns, Rodwell, Stone Street and Tapua, with my favourite player, Marween Hiroti, slotting 5 of 6 goals.
Ooh, it's a pretty good form we're in already. We'll see how the Jets guys sit on the tiers, actually, and see if any of them are moving up. All right.
Alrighty, and that's it for the socials, guys.
Well, nice work. All right,
I'll have to give you a rerun through next week of my slides, mate. A bit high tech for you, I think.
I think that's pretty good. Speaking of slides, whilst we do that, I'm going to fix up the layout of this thing whilst we do into that. All right, that was Latz's social roundup this week. Now we're going to move into what we're going to do. Brisbane Sharks, aren't we? Is the next thing that we're doing in this one. All right, let's just move to.
We are once off, one time only. First time we're playing the Broncos with this show. I might as well take over Boldo, but looking at it, so no, we did some Panther.
You take over. You take over and talk Williams, and I'll set us up in the background.
Sounds good. We're looking at Tiger Sharks, looking at Panther Sharks, and I was like, oh, not many players have gone between the Broncos and the Sharks. And I got together a reasonable 13, I thought, threw it out to you guys, and it was a bit of a shout out. A few players. I was like, actually, we could get a bit of a bench here, not quite an extended bench. That's not the team, by the way.
Not that one.
We'll go at,
not that one. Not that one.
Not that almost there. Here we go. We had to have it in blue, so. We'll start off with this one. We'll throw back to is Kelly doing the team list this week? Anyway, I'll run through this one. So this is all-time.
This is your team list. Do you want music with it?
No, I'm anti-music. It cuts out your dulcet tones, David. But looking at it, so there's a few exceptions. You'll see an asterisk next to Stewie Mills there. I'll talk about that in a second. You'll see the coach. There should be an asterisk next to him too. He didn't play for the Broncos, but so I got together those players that have played both for the Sharks and the Broncos. Not many. We got a 17 together. Looking at it, actually, there's a spelling mistake in there for whoever put in Craig T. Varney.
T. Varney
should be, but we'll go through. So number 1, Benjamin Barber. The wingers, Leon Bott and Gerard Beale. The centers, Jack Bird and Stuart Mills. Asterisk next to Stuart Mills. He signed for the Broncos. He did a preseason. He was there. He didn't represent them in first grade, but he was part of their squad. The halves, Albert Kelly and Paul Green. The front row of Sam Takatizi, Michael Ennis, Andrew Lomu. The back row, Chris McKenna, the captain. I've named him. Kurt Capewell and Brett Seymour playing probably his only game at lock. And the bench should be Craig Teven, Clifford Marnua, Darren Mapp, James Seguiaro, and the coach, a man who spent a long time in the old Brisbane Rugby League competition when there was 2 top flight competitions in Australia back in the 70s and 80s. That was John Lang, the coach. So thoughts, guys? Anyone I've missed? I'll give a shout out to Latz in he reminded me of Craig Teven. He was a little bit before my time. And I completely forgot that Clifford Marnua played a couple of games for them. And obviously Andrew Lomu, I believe, played 1 game for Brisbane in 2007. So there's a few niche qualifiers there.
I mean, obviously the standout for me there is Paul Green. That was heartbreaking when he left the Sharks. And I just, always ruins me to think that he was playing for another club. But yeah, he's certainly the standout there, I feel.
Yeah, not many direct Shark to Broncos. So Paul Green went to the Broncos via a few other means. I think it was his final year with the club, or final year in NRL football, playing for the Broncos after he played for the Cowboys, the Roosters, the Eels in that time. Chris McKenna came directly, or South Queensland Crushers to Broncos to us. Jack Bird went the other way, Sharks to Broncos. Ben Barber went Broncos to Sharks. We picked up Leon Bott. How many games did he play? One only.
One was it?
Broncos or for us?
One only. For Sharks. He played plenty for the Broncos, or a reasonable amount. He played one for us. City Football Stadium was looking good and then got knocked out.
He was fastly on Bott.
He was. He was a crowd favourite for one match. But anyway, that was the Shark Broncos.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the next, shall we? All right, perfect. All right, well, the Cronulla Sharks travel to Suncorp Stadium during the origin period to try and get their season back on track. Will Cam be able to back up, and can we get a result in a place that we typically don't? Geez, we seem to be talking about how we lose at Suncorp Stadium every week. The Broncos will last start losers versus the Titans, and other than that, they've got a couple of origin stars coming back, and they've been well prepped for this one with a bye coming into it. They too will want to show their might against the Sharks, the table-topping Sharks. I'm not on my hopes too high for this one, and as per the tipping comp rules, seeing as I am now in the lead, I don't expect a win, but I do expect a spirited performance, and I think we'll win next week. What is it, against the Dolphins, to give us 3 wins from 6 during a difficult period. So there you go. There's my tip. First up, I'm out the front saying that the Sharks are going to lose. That's the first tip. Anyone in the comment section, do get your tips in and let us know whether you think the Sharks are going to win or not. Matty, why don't you give us the historical view of the Sharks versus the Broncos?
Yeah, so Broncos came in 88. We played 62 times. We've won 22. They've won 40. So quite one-sided there. Overall points tally, Broncos 1,352 to Sharks 1,053. We've only played them once over the last once per season over the last 2 years. So last year we lost at home. Recall it was during Origin period as well. After was it game 2, I think, and we were looking all right. We gave up a few tries to just, I suppose, length of field ones like ricochets off kicks and the like. Ezra Mam and Reece Walsh scoring off those. To give them, I believe it was a 20 points to 10 victory. Whilst the year before, the Broncos weren't much chop. It was on 20 to 12 to the Broncos, that one. The year before we played at Suncorp on a Thursday night, the Broncos weren't much in that one. We went to the halftime break leading 7-0, bizarrely, from a bit of a scrappy Matt Moreland try. The whole team had the flu or some kind of virus. It wasn't COVID, but we got trans to the second half, 16-7, a very flat-looking performance. Our last start win against them was actually at Suncorp, a 24-16 win in the COVID-affected 2021 season. So we do have record, I suppose, form in winning up there, despite long periods without. We won our first start at Suncorp in 2004, that one that we're hoping to cover in the Chronicles this week. We covered the 2014 comeback instead, which was 3 in a row between 2012 and 2014. So we've got the ability to win up there. We beat them in our very, very first match against them at Caltex back in 1988 on the 23rd of April. Does anyone remember the score in that one? That was more your era. That was very one-sided against a Queensland Origin side. Speaking of Origin, Sharks 38, Broncos 8. And then obviously too, there's the very favourite or famous playoff victory at Parramatta Stadium as well. It's probably the standout outside of the 97 grand final and the prelim final win in 1999. So we got some form there. We can beat them. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think there's just too much going on. I think I'm hoping you're right, Boldo, that we're a bit more spirited. I'm worried. I think we'll lose by 12.
I'd like to question your use of the word form, Williams. Winning a couple of times over the last 30 years, I don't think equates to form.
Not exactly form.
True. Well, okay, so what do we got? 22 to 40. So we win, 1 out of every 3 based on that, and they win 2 out of every 3. So, yeah, not form, but it's not, I'd argue it's not like Melbourne Storm, for example, where we went long periods of we'd win 1 every 4 years, and we played them twice a year. So we did say 1 out of every 8. It was the running joke was when's the next Olympics? That's when we might have a chance of beating Melbourne. So I think we do have a better record than that against the Broncos, despite their dominance. But still, you're right. It's not exactly form. It's kind of, you call it maybe more blips, more more anomalies than yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we were meant to. I realised that I was meant to get Latz's tip and then kick him out of the room. So, Latz, why don't you give us your quick tip before we bring Chris in?
Yeah, mate. I think we lose this one by 10. I think they're a strong side. You've got Stags back. They'll have plenty backing up from Origin. I don't think Cobbo will get to see a great deal of minutes in Origin, and I think we're in trouble this week.
All right, fair enough. All right, Latz is tipping the Broncos as well. All right, let's bring in the man, Chris Kelly, and he can tell me how badly I'm doing tonight. Hello, mate.
Oh, are we lagging, or is it just you, mate? What's going on? Like the Sharks form, but I don't know if I can steer this ship right. So let's see how we go.
Yes, you can.
All right, let's get into it. Should we have a look at the team lists?
Well, sure, why not? I made sure it was done. So.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll probably put up the Sharks Broncos team again, to be honest. So let's just do that. Hold on a second. Yeah.
Oh, it is the right one. Oh.
There we go. That one. All right, cool. This is going so well. All right, Chris, take us through the team list.
So, as named in the 17 and also the squad that we can't see at the moment, you can't extend the 18. Make sure though, what I would like to see at 68 is 7 million. So it's pretty much the same team as usual, guys. But this time, Talakai slots into the second row. Cam McInnes, if he does back up the other game that's on Wednesday night. And our other bench now is Jack Williams, Toby Rudolph, Royce Hunt, and Big Tupahua. So a little tweaks to the team. They're running again with Atkinson and Trindle. Hines, with his little dodgy calf, is going to have a rest. It seems this is why they're going to nurse him for some reason. Take Origin as a precedent over our premiership points, which I warned us about. So I'm not too happy about that. So let's see how we go up in Brisbane.
So we've lost Wilton as of today to an AC joint complaint, which is indeterminate or unknown duration. Jesse Colquhoun, has he come back for Newtown yet? He was due back.
He did. He played last week. Yeah, played last week and did well.
So it could be good timing given he's looking good in the trials. Good to see Talakai in the starting lineup, and I think he'll go well. But it'll be good to have Colquhoun back as an added layer of depth, because I think we are missing a bit of depth in the second row there.
Interesting you say that, Williams. Colquhoun is listed in the extended bench. And now I guess the assumption would be if Cameron McInnes doesn't back up from Origin, it'd be a shootout between Colquhoun and Billy Burns. So one of those would come into the team.
You wouldn't think Jack Williams would go to lock? I know.
Yes, we would go to lock, but then you've still got to put someone on the bench. So,
yeah, for sure. I'm just wondering, did the Jack Williams at lock, not to say experiment, but how did that go? I was watching it live. I haven't seen too much apart from the highlights of the other night. I know there was some chat saying that some people weren't happy with the Williams at lock kind of move.
Well, he wasn't McInnes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think like we said in the debrief, the whole team looked pretty flat. So I don't know if you can sort of single out Jack Williams for that performance there.
Certainly not. Just wondering.
Probably too small a sample size. I know in the past I've spoken about. I think Talakai would make a good lock. He's strong.
Yeah.
He runs hard and he's got a good passing game. So he could certainly empower left and right with his soft skills. But at this stage, keep him in the back row. That seems fine. It's an easy swap for him. So,
well, yeah. I mean, it's interesting too. Obviously, subject to change, but Hazelton and Kafusi as well, who we were commenting how tired they were looking, and I looked like Hazelton was gassed after about 10 minutes the other night while I was watching it live.
Wouldn't surprise me if that changes them.
That changes.
There's some shake up there.
9-day turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We were so pleased with how the Sharks team list was looking, and now like,
The problem is with Origin as well. Like Cam McInnes is going to obviously play. He's starting 13 tomorrow night with Isaiah Yeo on the bench. So it can go either way, depending on injury and how they want to go. But McInnes could tackle himself into the ground tomorrow night and put out 60 tackles. And we want to back up against the Broncos team on Saturday.
He's not going to get as many Sharks minutes, McInnes.
Nah, well, you got 4 forwards, but if you lose a centre, does McInnes somehow suddenly end up
Damien
doing
Cook played 80 minutes in the centres?
Yeah.
It's the reason why, Queensland's going a second hooker on the bench and Selwyn Cobbo on their bench. It's
I reckon that's the right move. Time will tell.
Well, there goes McGuinness playing 80 minutes then, doesn't it? If we've got 4 forwards and we get 2 injuries to the backs, he's not coming off the field.
No.
That's true.
He's the backup 9 as well, so it's
he's just the backup everything.
Origin.
Captain
Origin.
Cam. All right, take us through this Broncos team, Chris.
All right, so far this Broncos team has been obviously named with a lot of players representing Origin, including Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo, like I mentioned, and Lat Settle. He's playing off the bench, so how many minutes he actually gets. They've still got Jock Madden instead of Josk Madden's playing in the halves over a still injured Adam Reynolds. Billy Walder's in there at 9. Payne Haas, whether he backs up at 10. Carrigan is with himself as well, and a bench of Smoothie, Willison, Hetherington, and Jack Goski, one of Boldo's favourite names to pronounce. And the coach, Kevin Walters. He's got it this time. Look, same sort of thing there. Obviously, this is the Bronco origin period where they do trot out a team. They do have an extended bench, which they do have quite a lot of players that play first grade at this moment. They do expect a lot of guys to be rested. So depending on how the game rolls out, again, Origin throwing up multiple spanners in the works because we just don't know what teams will trot out on the weekend. So Tipster's nightmare, Better's nightmare, Supercoach nightmare. So we just don't know. It could be it could be all Origin players might not back up. Some like to, some don't want to. Some could be suspended, some could be injured. So we'll just watch this space. It might be a completely different switch around by the time we run out there and we have the better team on paper. But at this stage, let's see how it goes.
Well, we've got a tip through from Harley, who's always tips the Sharks. Harley with the massive win, upset and beating the Broncos. And we'll leave SJD's comment about Edwards for the Origin chat.
The best part was Boldo saying that, we seem to be talking about losing it up at Suncorp, but we won 3 weeks ago. So good call there.
Well, that's true. Right. We do see before that we did seem to be talking about losing at Suncorp all the time.
We did. I think we've already won this year.
Prior to Magic Round, we statistically had the worst record at Suncorp of any team in the competition, including the newly appointed Dolphins. So,
well, it's kind of a home match for the Dolphins. So you'd expect them to kind of be a little bit better, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would, but the fact that
you're expecting a victory against them next week. I'm the other way. Like the Dolphins are a top 4.
Sharks beat the Dolphins. Sharks beat the Dolphins. I'm happy. In fact, I'm going to put that tip in now. I will tip.
You can put the tip in now. Lock it in.
Put the tip in now. That's how confident I am that's going to happen.
Can't
all right, Franco, what should we expect in this match? You think?
It could be anything. The teams could be different to what we've just spoken about there. I just think I've sorry, Williams. I know we've got form in quotes, but I just can't handle Origin. I can't handle Origin either, but I can't handle the Broncos and Suncorp, whether it's baby Broncos or not. I think we're going to go down, and I think they're going to break our hearts again. I think it's going to be spirited. I think we're going to be in it at certain times, but in the end, ultimately, we won't win.
I'm definitely not condoning an honourable loss, but having visited there, Boldo, I've been there with you, where we just haven't looked in it from even before the kickoff. So yeah, we'd be doing well to lead at any stage this weekend, I think.
Thanks, SJD, for saying that I'm going early on the Dolphins tip and being used to going early. I'm not quite sure what you're alluding to there.
He was very late today, SJD, very late.
All right, so we've got 4 tips against the Sharks at the minute. Chris, are you going to be...
Yeah, I'm going to be the spoiler. I'm going to be, not the spoiler. I'm going to be the true believer. I'm with the Cronulla Sharks tipster.
The actual host of a
I don't see in a perfect world, and everyone's got their little man crush on Reece Walsh. I don't see him backing up. He's too important to that team. He's too important to the back end. We saw it last year with the Broncos actually sacrificing the minor premiership just to make sure they were healthy for the semi-finals. I just don't see in a perfect world a Carrigan or a Reece Walsh backing up. I think they got Tristan Sailor or an angry Selwyn Cobbo, depending on injuries, how many minutes he plays in Origin. He might only play 5, he might play 55, he might play 0. So I can see him slotting in the fullback for the Broncos, which they've liked to do before, but he does run out of gas as well. And yeah, I think I'd really like to think that after the last 2 flat weeks, the Sharks come out a little bit more fire than the Broncos would. So the Broncos were embarrassed by the Titans at home the week before, given that they had the game in control. They were, how good's this, easy street, and the Titans just piled it on them. They went come back to the game. Everyone thought the Broncos were going to win, and the Titans scored late, and that was all she said. So this is the period they don't really care about. They're happy to nurse through with drop games here and there and come fire in the back end. So it won't surprise me. I told you, we're top 2 team, so let's get our win. Let's go.
All right. Well, you heard it here first.
I tipped 0 from 5 last week, guys. So don't listen to me.
It'll be good for you.
You're due.
Yeah, Anik tipped 3 and she didn't put her tips in. She got the away team, so how good's that? Then put your tips in, you get 3 out of 5, and I get 0 out of 5. So,
all right, fair enough.
All I know is
our
viewers have fallen through the floor since we all tipped against them. So.
Yeah,
probably right. All right, anything else on the Sharks Broncos match before we move on to the league roundup? No, let's get into it.
Go Sharks.
All right, go Sharks. All right, Chris, take us around the league. What's going on?
We're actually skipping around the league this week because everything's centered around this spectacular game on Wednesday night that everyone wants to talk about. So there is no other news bar Origin. That's all everyone wants to talk about is Origin. How good's Origin? How good's Origin selections? What's Billy Slater going to pull out with an extra back and an extra hooker on the bench? How's New South Wales going to combat that with 4 slow forwards off the bench? How's Nico's calf going to go? And the other news coming out of Origin, obviously, was the big talking point of dropping Teddy Tedesco as captain and fullback. And then lo and behold, Dylan Edwards pulls a little quad injury and Teddy's back in the team. So the Roosters weren't too happy with that, obviously getting upset by the Cowboys and losing their captain and Teddy Tedesco 2 days before the match. Interestingly enough, though, Dylan Edwards is named on the extended bench for Penrith this weekend. So who knows? It could have been Boldo's favourite smoke and mirrors with a bit of TBA in the fullback position, or it's just Harry Grant's miraculously got off his hospital bed from his man flu last weekend, and he should be a full force for the Origin team. So, other than that, I don't know what the ticket sales are like for a cold Wednesday night in New South Wales.
They're close to a sellout. They're saying
close to a sellout.
That is what they would say if they were trying to sell more tickets.
Correct. So
I would say close to a sellout.
Little push for that.
Almost sold out, but not quite.
As you can tell by my ever graying beard, I'm a cranky old man now watching football, and I stand up for the kids who really want to watch their heroes play Origin, and they get to wait for an 8:30 kickoff on a Wednesday night on a school night. Game finishes about 11 p.m. by the time they have 3 captains' challenges, a couple of injuries, and a couple of standstilling moments. Well, they'll probably have Gus Gould doing his little pre-talk before the game, and yeah, go Origin. How good. Nico Hyde's not playing again. It's 2 weeks.
One of the other guys now.
Yeah.
Cam Smith doing it goes up.
Yeah, we could probably have Cam Smith and Paul Gallen going at it in the Channel 9 box and commentating back and forth. And they'll do a live cross to Billy Slater, a live cross to Madge mid-coaching, which is always a spectacular thing to do when a game's going on. It's just...
Madge won't be having a bar of it.
Lats has just come through and said that they were trying to sell 2-for-1 tickets today, offered via email from Ticketek. Oh God, that's not such a good sign.
It's probably more. I reckon. And I've been to an Origin match before and buying some cheap tickets. I thought, how good's this? And you walk right up to the back 4 rows of now ANZ, or used to be ANZ Stadium, and you really fall down out of the sky, and you can't tell who's who in the game. They're probably the tickets they're looking to sell at this point.
Nosebleeds at that Accor Stadium aren't good. All right, well, look, Wednesday night, I'm going to do this. I'm going to quickly introduce this, and then I'm going to go get my show and tell item. So we're going to bring you in early, Lats. So Wednesday night, State of Origin starts at 8 p.m. as Chris is ranting only on Channel 9.
We've still got a Sharks greatest ever New South Wales team to present too.
I know you guys are going to do that now. I'm going to bring Lats in, and I'm going to run outside and go get my show and tell item, and I'm going to prep the trivia questions. I'm going to do the tiers after that, and then I'll have trivia ready. So I'm dipping out of the show, and I'm sure the viewership will go up. I hope you're ready, Lats, because I'm out of here.
How good's that? Welcome to the show, guys. The best part about Boldo's, obviously his very prize show and tell thing is it's in his car. Like it can't be any good if it's just living in your car. Like if I can tell you from the job that I do, people do not leave things in your car. They will not stay there very long. So it mustn't be very valuable or memorable at all, unless it's just people that like the Sharks. Let's see how we go. Anyway, so obviously I skipped the league roundup. I got an Eddinghausen on there. That's when I was a kid. I used to like Origin.
Yeah.
Turncoat.
Lats has got the same. Look, Lats has matching me.
Number 3. We're just fleeing forward to this team, so you can have a chat. I don't know what the agenda was. Why is it even?
Yeah, so at the request of it,
because this is you're in the.
This is the best show ever, guys.
Oh, this is gold.
That was the right team list, though, Matty. You had it right.
What's the team list? So where have we got it any other location, or has Boldo just stitched this up again? I can
bring it up.
No, that was it. So it was a top 17 of Sharks players who represented New South Wales, because everyone in this should be going for New South Wales. And there it is there. 1-1 back.
Thanks,
there it
Franco.
is. So obviously David Peachy in at fullback, Jonathan Docking in the great headgear at 2, Steve Rogers at number 3, Mark, not McGraw, but McGaw at number 4, and the great ET, as me and Lats were just saying, this side in our jerseys in number 5. James Maloney plays out at 6. Yeah, you know what? As much as you'd like to see ET playing the centres, he was one of a great Origin, if not rep wingers in Origin and played for Australia. Yeah, he was a great finisher. So you remember those battles he had out there, and also in his rep jerseys when he played against Martin O'Fire on the wing. He was more of a winger of those sort of rep arenas. So it's kind of like when Turbo plays centre instead of fullback. That was his sort of spot. So we put James Maloney in at 6 because he had that on-fire series with link up with Fafita, and then the infamous Brett Kamali with the intercept in Game 1 of 2005 gets a start at the number 7 jersey. Andrew Fafita at 8, when he had it, me and Williams have talked about that. He had a monster series when he played for New South Wales. Innes at 9, not too many matches. 8 minutes, Jason Stevens in at 10, because that was he was told he's going to mark up against, if anyone can remember, who he was supposed to go up against in State of Origin, and he played all of 8 minutes. Paul Gallen obviously at 11, captained the team. Greg Bird and Luke Lewis. Interesting at the bench, I wouldn't run with this bench, but this is the best 17 we can punch out for New South Wales in Todd Carney, Matt Moylan, so I had to throw him in there. Oh, I know, SGD. I'd swap Gallen and Lewis around. But look, as you can tell, SGD, from our show tonight, Boldo threw these things at us sort of last minute, and I realised we had 4 team lists going into tonight. I thought it was a bit over the top, but Williams had one going, and I quickly sort of looked at it. My admin lady copied and pasted one from Google, and it was quite good, and I had to change a few positions. So it wasn't more positions, it was more names, because she at some stage had Steve Rogers in at 8. So Todd Carney, Matt Moylan, Nico Hines, and Wade Graham. I'd probably start Wade Graham. The worst part is, and she spelled it wrong as well because we don't like him, is Ricky Stewart had to be the coach because he coached Origin for the Blues. It's the only reason he got a start. I could have put anyone else in there. I know Flano assisted him during his time when he was at Cronulla, assisted the New South Wales Blues, but I had to put Ricky Stewart in there because
could have done a classic Williams asterisk, maybe.
Kelly,
yeah, 2 or 3 series losses.
I thought you were, I think he got, at least 2 series losses before being punted or leaving, one of the 2. It was when he was coaching Australia that he tore Ashley Klein a new one in the lobby of a hotel in Brisbane. But I thought you were going to copy and paste my one that I'd put to kind of rebut yours. I haven't got the graphics sorted, but the back line is basically the same. Jonathan Docking, he played only 1 match in first grade for Cronulla on the wing. Everything else was at fullback with a game at halfback, and he was a halfback growing up. Actually, if you look at Ash Taylor's Sharks history article from a few weeks ago, and a few stints for the bench too, I thought you got to get Docking in there. He played more games for New South Wales than Peachy did, even though Peachy obviously was robbed of lack of game time during that. He was a game winner in 2000, game winner, and then injury crawled him, and they brought Tim Brasher back. 1999, they gave it to Robbie Ross, which was just that was a thief in the night, that's for sure. But Andrew Eddingshausen agreed had to be on my wing as well. You couldn't put Rogers or McGaw there, but you had to put both them in. Steve Rogers was our very first Origin player way back in 1980, and Mark McGaw scored at least 2 winning tries, including that one that gets replayed so many times with the grubber going through, putting it down. I think it was Greg McCallum pointed the spot, no video referee, Wayne Bennett blowing up on the sideline. I think that was at Lang Park. But my forward pack was a bit different to yours. I did go Front row of Stevens, Ennis, and Fafita, the same. But a back row of Greg Bird, Paul Gallen, Gavin Miller, the captain. I put Gavin Miller as captain because he had captain New South Wales, and a bench of SJD will be happy. It's a bit of a heavier bench. We've got Wade Graham, Luke Lewis, Cade Snowden, Todd Carney. I picked it as an actual team, what was going to be the best team rather than the just putting all the best players in there. Did Matt Moreland represent New South Wales for us? I didn't qualify him as a Sharks player.
He was
looking at it, those that missed out. Yeah, you're right. Those that missed out: Alan Wilson, Phil Bailey, Trent Barrett, who captained the team in Game 3 of 2009, in the absence of pretty much everyone else, and was a win as well. Jack Bird, Matt Pryor, Josh Morris, Sifa Talakai, Nico Hines, and from the Super League era, Danny Lee and Sean Ryan.
Yoks.
So, yeah, the Ox.
Yeah, my admin lady had a few different names in there, and I sort of chopped and changed. I had to put Moylan in there because I left him out of the best Penrith team, and everyone hammered me over it. So I think SJD said he literally won a game as fullback for New South Wales, so he got a start. Nico, because I just trusted him over this series, he's going to kill our top 4, if not top 2 chances. Like I said, they're sacrificing him to play Origin instead of worrying about our time during Origin. But we do have 2 buys in that period, so we'll see how we go. Cade Snowden, I just couldn't give a start in that team. I couldn't go there.
For that in Australia. That was in his peak 08, 07, 08 form for us before he departed. And before neck injury when he went back to the Knights, I reckon he could have been anything. He could have been a mainstay for a while. Greg Bird made his debut, I think it was 08 or late 07. They came in for Game 3, him and Gallen. Gallen had made his debut in 2006, actually, ironically, the game that New South Wales lost down in Melbourne when that intercept pass was thrown. Was it Brett Hodgson, scooped up by Darren Lockyer to win? I'll correct myself too. Yeah, that was Paul Gallen's first Origin match, while Greg Bird played in Game 3 of 2007 and then was man the match in Game 1 of 2008. I was incorrect. Gavin Miller did not captain any New South Wales matches, so maybe I should have put Paul Gallen as our captain, given that he did captain the Blues from 2011 to 2016. Yeah. Sorry, Gal.
I did have my favourite Gavin Miller in there, but with a bit of history, I had to look at him. Look, Gallen pretty much led that sort of era along with his Bash brother and Greg Bird. The other one I probably could have put in there, who was I going with just then? Carney obviously playing. And my admin lady did have Trent Barrett, which I quite like, but it was a bit of a tough time for the Sharks. And he played a lot more Origin football as a Dragon, so it was a bit hard for me to put in that team. There's quite a lot of the controversial one probably is, which a lot of us newer generation to Origin football probably complain about. Steve Rogers was actually a Queenslander, but because he played for New South Wales Rugby League, that he was actually selected in the New South Wales team. So a bit of a controversy there because obviously his son Matt played for Queensland, that we've touched on for multiple games because they were Queenslanders. So born and bred Queenslander, sort of like Peter Sterling, born in Toowoomba, playing out of New South Wales Rugby League. So he was playing as a great Origin player for the Blues. So different times back then.
Sterlo did, this is, we're talking pre Greg Inglis and the ridiculousness of growing up in Maxwell and playing for Queensland. So Sterlo's dad was in the Air Force. They moved to Wagga, I think, when he was 3 years old. And he said, all I can remember is growing up in New South Wales. A bit different what Luke Keary recently. He qualifies for both. He was born in Ipswich, grew up there, and then moved down to the Central Coast, I think, or vice versa. And so he qualified for both, given that he moved at 10 or 11 years old. Ronan was asking the other day, going, how does it work? How do you? And I'm like, just listen to the song That's in Queensland. So, but speaking about halves, Todd Carney reminds me of the 2012 series where he played Game 3. We lost by that Cooper Cronk. New South Wales, that is, lost to the Cooper Cronk field goal from 40 out with less than a minute to go. Carney kept New South Wales in it, scored a try, set up a try, I think the equalising try, including a conversion for the sideline. Really good big game player, or at least at that point in time, that point of his career, that point of progression of that squad. I was thinking, here we go, he's getting big game experience, and hopefully, fingers crossed somehow, that Nico gets something similar out of that. Madge was quoted saying today that all the chat about Nico is unreasonable, given that has anyone seen the matches prior to his last start against the Cowboys? Against the Panthers. And has anyone seen his other matches prior to his last Origin game where he was played out of position for 8 minutes? So, yeah.
All right. So while we're on Origin, and we'll go around the room as well while Boldo's probably still sitting out of his car. There's obviously talked about how Paul Gallen went on his roundabout. You can't stop the competition for Origin and other like that. And Phil Gould threw up his idea because we know Franco's new favourite team, the PNG Cobbles, are coming in to the competition at some stage to make 18 teams. So you can't. Again, I'd like to see, and I know Phil Gould touched on it. You're going to push to 20 teams, but at this stage, like, there's got to be a shake-up to the draw where, you know, instead of us copying all the stick about having a soft draw, it's got to come to a stage where teams aren't going to play each other twice all the time. If we're going to have 18 teams, you're obviously not going to play a lot of teams twice. You might only see them once. You might not see them at all, the way the draw is going to go. I can see a scenario now that the women's game's growing where you could have the women's game on a Friday night and the men's on a Sunday, and the whole, just like international football, and we haven't got an international football guy right now, where they just stop the competition for international football because it becomes detrimental to that competition. Like the EPL is littered with players who play international games, so they don't want to disrupt it or water down the product. And that's the problem where Gallen's missing that. He's talking about the broadcasters, but if you watch those games, like I said, I tip 0 from 5. There's a lot of kids making their debut, and it's great, but you won't see them playing again. And they talk about bringing an extra team, and they can't fill those teams with the players. Well, that's the product you're pushing out. Like if you're going to push out Sharks versus Brisbane and we trudge out half our reserve graders and they trudge out more, it's a watered-down product. You know, broadcasters are getting the raw end of the deal, and they don't want to show those sort of games on Channel 9. So I'd like to see a system where you can extend the season by having those rep games. You could have it, say, this weekend or last weekend where the game was played, and then everyone comes back next week. It's not a standalone for 6 weeks, is what I would have. I'd have it an Origin on, competition on, Origin on, competition on. You don't need a camp. Those guys don't need 10 days in camp to work out what's going on. They're all professionals. They know what's happening. They know each other's plays. They all go out the back, the same sort of plays. And the way that New South Wales selected their squad this season, I don't see much flair coming out of it. There's no trick plays coming out of it. They're just waiting for one little decision and one bounce of the ball. So that's my rant about, because I'm sick of seeing 5 games that are just mediocre. Like the only game I told you guys during the weekend, the only game I watched was the Roosters game and the Cowboys, and even that game was awful. Like it was just terrible. So Lat's ideas, thoughts?
Yeah, I actually don't mind that idea with the one on, one off, one on, one off. Yeah, you're right. They are professional athletes. They should be able to get it together, being at the top of their game, and I think that's a really good option. To be honest, I really like that. I don't mind the standalone in the middle of the season either, just for rep rounds in regards to like maybe a 6-week break. But I just don't agree you can have it at the end of the season. I just think there's just, half the teams haven't played. It's just a bit sloppy to pick off form. You're eating into the players' off season, and I just don't think their minds would be in it.
Frigo?
They did that in 2020.
Okay.
I guess I understand where you're coming from, Kelly, but I think, unless you're a team that gets sort of decimated the way the Panthers have the last few years, I don't think it's as mediocre as you call out. Maybe across the round it might be, but as a Sharks fan, I'd much rather see a Sharks game, whether it's, with a few rookies thrown in, than having to wait a week because of Origin. I'm selfish that way. Yep, I'd like to see my team play. So I also don't agree with the fact that it's diluted. I think that's probably, a case of some teams not having a good squad because they don't develop players well enough, and they don't put stocks in retaining certain players for as long as they can to get a good understanding of their game and the club's game. Won't name names, but obviously that's the case. I do think that, some clubs certainly have a stockpile of great talent, and the addition of teams gives those clubs a bit of a harder shot at hanging on to those players, and it spreads the talent around a bit better. So that said, because I'm sitting on the fence getting splinters, I'd probably, if something has to be done, Kelly, that's probably the best way forward. is a week on, week off over a period of I don't know, a month and a half. I don't agree with the boot camp 3-week solid Origin. Don't agree with the end of season. So if it's not going to be as it is now, then I could see what you're doing there, CK. I could go with that. I just don't know if there's enough other things to go around those Origin weekends. I don't think there'd be a lot of people unhappy with just one game a week of nothing else. Don't know if you can have a Pacifica Cup maybe where it's a round robin competition of various Pacifica teams to have a little trophy held up at the end of that period. That'd be kind of cool, and then buffer out the dead air, so to speak, and also give those non-Origin players something to play for.
Well, see, the other thing is you got buys in there as well, and they irritate me just as much. Like you said, you don't get to watch the Sharks play. There's 2 weeks a year we get 2 points for doing nothing. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, and every year the Warriors get
now.
to pick up points.
Yep.
Then we get 3 now, which is just absurd. And you get points for climbing the ladder for times where your team might be going really hot and it kills form, or maybe going really bad and it comes out the other way. And we saw that coming in the last couple of weeks. Like and Gus has touched on it before, as much as I don't like talking about other commentators, but this is where the Warriors pick up points. And like I said before, the Broncos kind of teeter off, and so do your Storms and teams, and like you said, the Panthers. Cowboys were missing 6 on the weekend, although they got the win, but they're expected at $5 outsiders to lose those kind of games. Like you could even throw in an Indigenous, the knockout comps they like to do in the off season, where it's all retired players could come down and put on a Saturday night game as their final. Like I said, the women's Origin game is now a 3-game series, so you could do that on the Friday night, so you have Origin on the Sunday, or you could do our game on the Friday and the women's on the Sunday, so that way the men get a bigger rest period because the women's haven't started. But yeah, Williams, you were going to say on the 2020 we had at the end of the season, but thoughts on what you want to do?
End of the season there, which was strange. I think it was obviously was the Jewel in the Crown. They couldn't do any international football, so that's what which Origin seems to be the pinnacle. I hate that. I absolutely despise the term that Origin is the pinnacle of the game. Playing for your country should be the pinnacle, and we've seen that in recent years with some players forego the money associated with Origin. What's it, 10, 20 grand
50,
per
000,
game? 30,
50,000.
50,000
and the 20,000 goes to their superannuation at the end, so they get 30,000.
So
I feel as though I agree with you there, Williams, wholeheartedly, but less about Origin being the pinnacle and more about players who play for non-tier 1 nations opting for Origin instead of their nation. I feel as though the media has misconstrued that rule over the last few years because of those sort of lower tiered nations playing matches around the same time as Origin. Obviously, you can't be in 2 places at once, so you have to pick a team. Now, just because you say you want to play for Samoa does not mean you cannot play for Origin. You're still eligible for Origin because you're not a tier 1 nation. It's if you're a tier 1 nation and you choose to align yourself. Exactly, right? Yeah. So if you choose to align yourself with a tier 1 nation, then you can no longer play for Origin. However, another rule that a lot of people seem to forget is that eligibility resets at the end of a World Cup. So if you've chosen to play for England, and then at the end of the World Cup, you can say, well, now I'm playing for Australia, you are back eligible for State of Origin.
You got the Tony Carroll playing for Queensland and New Zealand kind of set up it was a tier 1 exemption during the Super League war. So I mean, Origin, it's for the masses. Steve Mascord's spoken at length about how it's kind of the what do you call it the Metallica or the Guns N' Roses of rugby league, in that it's the one that gets the masses out, and it's probably been watered down and become a bit powder puffy over the years. When you look back at the 80s and 90s, the heyday when there was fisticuffs every.
Well, I think that was the selling point of Origin. The Origin was to go out and go out there, bash, all full guns blazing, no rules, let's go.
And midweek, they'd play the week before, they'd back up the following week, and it wasn't the impact it is now, the juggernaut that it is. If you're going to take a game to the States, it's probably the one or London or something. It's probably the game to do it because, yes, it is the highest quality, despite the fact that I think that Australia and New Zealand, we still need to be building towards that. We still need to, especially with the amount of Pacifica players we have in the competition these days. That needs to be the pinnacle, but you're right, it's going that way. So is there a perfect solution? I don't think there is. 2020 showed that I think there was probably due to COVID and a few other things, a subdued season. I went to game 2 actually with a few people, including Boldo. It was at 40,000, so 50% filled ANZ Stadium. It's a good way of going to the football, get the atmosphere, but still get the room to move. But it just had that, it just didn't feel that you could tell the players weren't quite there. It was a bit, I remember it was strange what the US election was on. That was on that morning, and then that coverage kind of led straight into Karl Stefanovic mincing his words into the Origin coverage. It was all in Adelaide. It was all strange. So no, I think end of year is built for international football. And you're right. I think there was talk. There were some of the players in those squads that, as Lats was saying, hadn't played in, I think, 8-10 weeks. So, it was a huge gap because that was November. That was November 2020.
So the solution is no solution.
Yeah, basically.
Agree to disagree.
I guess then on to this game. Nico, he's famous for, you mentioned Williams, the 12 minutes. Wasn't on there for long. There were 2 highlights while he was on the field. One was a brilliant defensive move where he makes tackle on Walsh, who then offloads, and he slides off and makes a second tackle, which probably goes a long way to saving a try there. The other, obviously, was missing Munster, who, if we're being honest, skipped around about 4 other guys, one of which was Cleary, and who has definitely stood up a ton of players in his time. It's just a shame that everyone seems to remember that second highlight and forgets the first.
Yep.
Personally, I'm rooting for Hines and McInnes to have a great game and more importantly come out unscathed. I do watch matches of Origin a lot more closely when there's a Sharks player involved, mainly to hope that they have a good game and hopefully garner some positive press off the back of it. I'll probably be doing the same again, and it just helps that they happen to be New South Wales players. So my hopes align with the hopes of the New South Welshmen that we get a Blues win, and so that's what I'm looking for.
I've got a different attitude. 2016, I was paranoid. I was just hardly watching because I was like, oh my goodness, we're going to lose Fafita. We're going to lose, more importantly, we're going to lose Maloney, and the dream is gone. This time around, I think Nico needs to prove on a big stage. He did a few weeks ago against the Roosters at Suncorp. He needs to take this opportunity. I hope he does. If he doesn't, then I hope it doesn't have too much of an impact on him and the club. But I think this is the opportunity. Let's call it third time lucky, hopefully. Comparing this to his Australian performances as well, that he actually takes it and has a big performance in a big game, takes it, that experience out of it and brings it back to the club to help us moving forward, whether it's not this year, in the coming years in big matches in finals. Sorry, lads.
No, you're right, mate. I just wanted to just say how much I love the confidence that Matt just showed in Nico in the media and that. He's come out massive, backed him. Came out, I was reading an article today where he came out just to remind everyone how well he's gone over the start of the season prior to that Penrith match. And that was just a half of football that went wrong. It's going to do a lot for his confidence. Like when Freddie had him, Freddie seemed to not know how to harness him. It's almost like Freddie just had him there due to outside noise. Didn't really want him in the halves, and that shattered his confidence as we saw. So if he has a strong game, him and McInnes, that's going to go a long way at the back end of our season and in the bigger games around finals time and rub off on the team. So
yeah,
it's just a nice touch from Madge.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think our fearless leader has come back from his vehicle from outside. Is he sitting in the green room waiting, waving his hands? Or it
might not have been his own vehicle, but he's come back from a vehicle.
It was one of the current Sharks players' vehicles. That's where he got the merch from.
He's going to jump in and boot one of us out. Who's getting the boot, Franco?
I'm out. I've put my tips in. So see you later, gang. Enjoy.
Tips in, Franco.
Really, Mark.
Oh, we lost.
Yep. Good segment, lads. I can't believe you didn't put Gavin Miller in the damn Sharks' greatest New South Wales team.
I did.
He's the captain in 1989. He's like the best player we've ever had.
Over Paul Gallen?
Yes. Yes.
He's a joker.
At least
I'll blame the admin. It was a lot of cut and paste.
Gavin Miller could pass. All right. Lads, can you give us the?
You want an intro?
Yeah, we got on an intro.
All right.
Tears.
We're going tears. Welcome to Boldo's Tears, where the Bolderman brothers bring you a heroic deep dive into the Cronulla Sharks' most formidable warriors. Today we unveil the Titans of the Turf, the heroes who carry the hopes of a legion of fans on their broad shoulders. From the relentless leadership of Captain Cam to the dazzling brilliance of Nico Hines to the ironclad defence of Britton Nakora. These players epitomise power, precision and passion. Join us as we celebrate the legends in black, white and blue in a segment that promises drama, heroism and the relentless pursuit of victory. This is Boldo's Tears.
Thank you, Lats, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, this is Boldo's Tiers, where we rank the top players, or basically all the Sharks players, into some sort of tiers or hierarchical system based on a very detailed and difficult to understand criteria. This is a standard version of the tiers this week. I thought I'd give everyone a rest. I've got a really good theme lined up for next month, but this month I thought I'd just bring it back to basics, just so we can bring a few people along and just so they can understand. So this is the top Shark player rankings, according to Boldo, i.e. me, right now. All right, so these guys, well, they might get their turn soon because a lot of stuff's going on. And actually, in fact, we've got Puru, Takamo, Burns, Beryl, Bradbury, Gabrielle, Jesse, Colhoun. He might get his turn soon. Even the great Mahuin Haroti might get his turn soon. And Dykes and Stone Street. So I'm ranking all of these guys, all the Jets guys, in the same tier because some of them, well, they might gonna get their turn soon. These next tier, well, Jets in their future. I have severe worries for these three as I think they might be playing for the Jets sometime in the future. I think Kale Iro has been a little bit lucky with the injury to Teague Wilton. Dan Atkinson, I think, will be dropped, and I think it will be Braden Trindle who will be preferred. And then Kafusi hasn't been in that good a form for mine, so I worry for them. The Jets are in their future, but I still love you guys, especially you, Dan Atkinson. I love all these guys, but I just have a feeling you're going to get some time in the Jets soon. These guys, well, they're holding their spots or they're a little bit injured. So Jack Williams, well, we've seen him fall back to the bench. Rami and Noodles, is an argument to be made that it should be Talakai and Iro as the centers. So I think Ramian is just holding his spot at the moment. And, well, T, you're now injured. So I had to just quickly move you down the tiers, actually, and say that you were injured, whereas before I just had you holding your spot. But these guys, they're just kind of holding on. So I think there could be wholesale changes coming the Sharks' way. On to the next. Well, something positive. So I think these guys are going pretty well. Royce has had a good couple of games. Tapua looks big, and I think Trindle's actually looked good in his return. So there's something positive for these guys. So I'll put them slightly above the Williams, Ramian, and Teague tier. And I think we're going to see Trindle come back, which is a bit of a flip for me because I was on Team Atkinson for a while. On to the next. Well, massive drops, big drops for these two. They have fallen down the tiers. Tommy Hazelton and Sione Katoa have dropped down significantly. I'm not sure that I would be playing Tom in the starting lineup moving forward at the moment and think we get more impact off the bench. And Sione, some of those drops on the weekend, well, those were just disastrous. So he is well below his running mate and winging pal, Ronaldo Mulatalo. On to the next. These guys, they're pivotal, and we've got to somehow just find a way to get them some minutes. So Toby and Ueli, I think, hold the key to our success this season. We just got to get them some minutes and get them back on the field. And we've seen positives from Toby. We're really worried about Hamlin, Ueli at the moment with him not being picked this week. Just got to get these guys fit, get them back in the team. On to the next. We need more from these guys. Kennedy and Brayley, we need more. What more can you do for us? We need more of those plays, Kennedy. We called it out last week on the debrief that we're expecting more from Brayley when we had Nico out. I think I've spelt Brayley incorrectly or wrong, haven't I, Chris? Yeah, I always do that. But anyway,
it's not the only wrong with these T's, but yeah, let's keep going.
We'll get on to that. On to the next. We need even more from these guys. So Ronaldo, Nikora, and Talakai, they've been a little bit, none of them are in form. So all three of them have previously been top of the tiers, and we need more from them. We just need them to find a way to get back into that electric form if we're to do anything, because the last couple of weeks, we've not been in such good form. All right, on to the next. Kamali 2.0. That's what I'm calling these guys. So please, God, do not do Kamali 2.0 in the Origin tomorrow night. We need them to come out of this and go from strength to strength and become top of the tiers, not go backwards like we saw the great Brett Comorley do in 2005 when he threw that disastrous intercept. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but this is the highest placing for Nico Hines and Cam McInnes on Boldo's tiers that they have seen thus far, which leads us to who is on top of the tiers and is the top Sharks player and performing really well right now. Can you guess who it is?
Roddy.
It's no one, because none of them are playing any freaking good, because you're all out of form, Sharks. None of you are good enough to hit the top of my tiers, and someone's got to stand up and start performing. Otherwise, we're going to go freaking down the table. We're not even going to be a top 4 team. So none of you deserve to be top of the tiers right now. And by default, we've got the Origin players, Nico and Cam, on the second tier. That is Boldo's tiers this month for the month of May. In terms of the performance, what do we think, boys? I think I've rated them. I think it's pretty accurate. This is the order of the players.
Who's going to go first? Williams. We'll go to tiers. Williams go first. We'll go in a tiers order. Go, Williams.
Can I just ask one question?
Go for it.
Where's Teague?
Teague's down the bottom.
He's in the engine.
He's in the holding
spot, or he's injured now. But I mean, I get the tiers now. I'm sure none of the players, or maybe all of them, are losing sleep over the fact that none of them are on the top of tiers.
I think they all strive to be top of the tiers.
So this is a monthly thing. So we open the month of May with wins in Melbourne without Nico, wins over the Roosters at Suncorp, but Magic Round in front of a sellout crowd.
But it tends towards recency bias, Williams.
Of course it does. Of course it does. And I'm the first to admit that the last 2 weeks have been nothing but cataclysmic. But Shark-esque, of course. But we know that the true reason behind it all, the reason why Boldo's tiers are this way, is because David Bolderman, on whatever date it was in May, when he's talking about streaks, put the mock on the side. So you are a self-licking ice cream. You're a self-fulfilling prophecy. You've gone and created these tiers because you put the mock on the team 2 weeks ago anyway. So you can't.
Not to mention he's just put the mock on Nico for tomorrow night. But
exactly,
anyway.
100%.
You just
100%.
pissed off the rugby league gods something chronic. So anyway, I agree the team's got to pull their socks up. But goodness, it's mid-season. I think we need a bit of a forward freshen up rotation. We've got the props there. I don't know. The team looked off the other day. I'm not sure. That's why I said, is it a virus? Is it fatigue? Is it something that the team can play an awful lot better? They know that. Hopefully they know the fix behind it too. Fitzy did seem pretty peed off in the press conference, so hopefully things move in the right direction. One thing that we did get a comment from Franco backstage was that Max Bradbury's out with a season-ending injury, an ACL, so I don't think he'll be getting his turn anytime soon, regardless of that. So hopefully, I think Kafusi, Atkinson here. I think
it says might get their turn soon. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, true.
All right. So who are you moving up and down, Williams? What are you doing?
So Iro had a tough night the other night, but I think the 7th first grade game. I think he's offered a lot and unleashed Talakai to be the cheat code off the bench, and hopefully.
Do you think Iro was better than Jack Williams, Jesse Ramey, and Ortega Wilton?
I'd say it's different. That's why I think it's a fundamental issue.
It's not different. It's the tiers. Is he up on the next tier?
No,
is he good enough? Is he as good as Ramey? No, he's not.
Yes, no, for a centre in the road.
He's only one spot below Ramian on the tiers.
In the NRL, in his 7th first grade match, and he falls off 2 tackles on the weekend, and everyone wants to crucify him. I think it's incorrect. I think it's similar to Nico being crucified last year. I think you've got to persist with him, and I think he shows a lot. And you look at what his stats up until the weekend was well and surely I'm not going to say the form center of the NRL, but a very solid center. So, no, I don't think he's going to the Jets anytime soon, nor should he. Atkinson's a maybe, but not through a lack of talent or quality. I think it's just a factor of 3 don't fit into 2. And Kafusi, I think, will continue to provide, whether it's from the bench or I don't think he's getting dropped anytime soon. If anyone's getting dropped, it's probably Tapua, as we've already seen, or maybe even Royce Hunt, or maybe even Big Tommy because of their motors. I actually think that Kafusi has a bigger motor than all of them. So your tiers, as always, are wrong, and I thoroughly disagree with that. But that's way down the bottom. I think the top, agreed. Over to you guys. I've had my say.
Lads, critiques?
Mate, first of all, mate, it speaks for itself. I'm not going to say what it looks like when you squint your eyes, these tiers, but anyway, we'll leave that alone. Kafusi, mate. Kafusi has been on fire. He's playing for a contract. He's been on fire. He's been scoring tries, which he hasn't scored for 2 years prior to that. He's been an absolute weapon up the front. I don't know what the hell you want from Will Kennedy or Sifa Talakai. Will Kennedy seemed like the only guy trying out there the other night.
Make a tackle in one-on-one defence. Talakai, let's get him some more minutes. Come on.
Talakai, mate, I think you're right with Tommy. I think you were right with Tommy. He's been found out napping in defence there. Could be a good, with Talakai coming into the team to play what looks like 80 minutes. It could be a good option to get him onto the bench and have that impact. Nico, I can't believe you said what you said about Kamali 2.0, and that's
worried
just
that he's going to be Kamali 2.0.
I wasn't, but I am now.
God.
I think we'll see a lot more work from Nicaragua given Teague's absence. I think we'll go to that right side a bit more. Toby Rudolph definitely we need more minutes from him. He's been putting in very hard these last few games that he's played, and who knows what's going on with Ueli, but hopefully he gets back soon as well.
Chris?
I hope something positive and Trindle in that tears was a pun or non-intended pun. I'm not too sure.
Actually, no, that I hadn't even thought about that.
You're welcome. I can see Atkinson going to the Jets only just due to the fact that we've all sort of described, and I think everyone's all sort of predicted that we're going to end up with Trindle and Hines, our future halves. Kafusi has been an absolute beast as a starting front rower for this team, and Iro is very, very much a solid centre who's keeping Talakai out of his spot. I don't see the big Titanic coming back into the starting lineup, as per this week that he's playing second row and not centre at all. Massive drops. Well, Williams' young fella knows more than Boldo because he picked Katoa to score first against Parramatta, so I don't know where that drop in forms go. He dropped a few balls against Penrith, but he was quite good against Parramatta. And I think Boldo predicted Big Tommy to have maybe 2 tries for the season. He's already up to 5, and he's one of our top tries.
I didn't predict Tommy on the tries.
So, well, we're going to play that video when we go back to it. I don't know how Ueli gets more minutes, but he's not even selected in the 23 and can't come in as a TBA. So I don't know what more else he can do except for maybe be healthy. So I don't know how he gets more minutes. I thought Will Kennedy scored one of the best tries we've seen in quite a while since last year that he scored against Parramatta. So I don't know what we need more. And I wholeheartedly agree with Lats because Nikora, and I've mentioned it multiple times, has been used as a battering ram, if not a decoy, if not a tackling machine, and that's not his game.
Well, they can't all be the top row, Chris.
I didn't say they are. I just said we need more from Nikora, but I agree with Lats that now that Teague's out, his role will change a little bit more. Because, like I said, he's only scored 1, maybe 2 tries this season, where we're used to him scoring multiple tries across the season. And he's just been used as that decoy battering ram and also a tackling bag, which I think he might have had 11 missed tackles on the weekend. So I don't know how you put him up that high above a few other guys that probably put out. You got some bias against Rami, and he's always down the bottom. Push him back up. Come on. He was on the verge of being selected for Origin.
All right. Well, fair enough. That was.
But other than that, like it's you got to rank people. It's hard. It sucks. You got to rank them out there. It's you got to put them somewhere. So you'd hope they're putting a mirror up to themselves across this weekend and saying, you know what, we're going to Suncorp. We've got a horrible record. Who cares? Let's go. So let's get Chris back on the top of the tipping comp.
All right, let's get Chris. Yeah. Well, I think you're actually.
I'm sliding. That's fine.
I think you're actually yeah, you are last. So yeah, if the Sharks win, you will catch up a point on every single other person except for Harley, who would go outright leader. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that was Boldo's Tears for this week. They will be back next month with a television show themed. I've already picked out what next month's theme is going to be. Prominent television show returns to the airwaves in 2 weeks, so I'm going to do that themed Tears. All right, on to the last segment. We've got show and tell. I'm going to try and bring Franco in here, and we're going to do that, and we're going to go like that. And then I'm going to – actually, I might do – hold on. How am I going to do this? How do I get the 5 of you guys in here? Let's just go – well, Chris is just disappeared.
Can you go back to the car?
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to leave you in the background, Chris, so we can hear your voice, but we can't see you. All right, so For show and tell, we thought this would be a new segment on the ET stand, and so I decided to volunteer myself to go first, where we invite all of our panelists to put forward a piece of Sharks merchandise or memorabilia they have, which they think is particularly unique, maybe the only item that they have themselves, something special that they hold dear and nearest to their heart. And so I'm going to show my show and tell item is a King Juan restaurant menu from the last evening of the King Juan. Now, I put it out there. I'm not sure too many.
You need to confess something, though, Boldo. Like, do I need to have a chat to you? Like, how you acquired this item?
Well, we stole it. We stole it on the last night of the King Juan.
Tony gave it to you. Tony said
Tony gave it to us. Tony actually.
Please tell me it's got his contact details in there.
Sadly, it doesn't. But as you can see, the King Juan restaurant in its day, like what a beautifully presented menu, is pretty cool item, really. So I put it to you: has anyone got anything as unique as this? And I reckon this is the only one of these that's out there, maybe still in existence. So to also celebrate the launch opening of the new Chinese restaurant in the kind of Sharks League Club, I thought it would be telling to do that. So let's see if anyone can beat that as a piece of Cronulla Sharks memorabilia that they may have in their bank of or collection of stuff. Franco's smiling. Franco, what are your thoughts on the King Juan restaurant menu?
Oh, I love it. I think that was a great showing, unexpected. And you know what? I was actually thinking about all the stuff that may have come into people's possessions with the shutting down and the demolition of the club. We've seen, bar stools and things like that show up online. I was wondering if it was going to be something like that. Kind of is something like that, but way better. The King Juan menu, that's very cool. I'm sure it highlights, good menu, good items. Like,
there's some great items
for everyone.
Can I just check it's got a mixed entree per person? Surely it's a mixed entree per person.
It's going to lead us into this week's trivia. So I'm going to remove myself and I'm going to host from.
No.
He's muted himself.
You can hear me. Oh, what? Hold on.
Because you're the host.
Oh, yeah. So I can't remove myself and then you hear me. That doesn't work, does it?
Wait on. Here we go.
and you can.
How do we do that? We got to somehow get. All right. Are you doing an edit? You doing an edit, Franco, to get it? All right, hold on.
I was going to, but
hold on.
Can I just go around while Boldo's doing this? Franco, one entree per person.
One entree per person.
Williams.
Agreed.
Lats.
Yeah. What's the price of wasabi beef in that menu, Boldo?
4 to 1.
You're going to find out in a
one
second.
entree per person.
For the viewers at home, David Bolden is a believer that you only order an assortment of entrees, and everyone has to fight it out.
You order less entrees than there are people, so that you don't fill up. Sense. Apparently, no, terrible idea.
All right, hold on. I've got it. We've got him in as the 5. There we go. All right, no, you definitely only order.
Agreed.
No, we just said 4 to 1. We just said 4 to 1.
Okay. All right. So King Juan themed. Yeah, sorry.
And yes, Eero is
King
definitely not
Sharks
Jetstown.
trivia to finish off, and I'm going to read from the King Juan menu as our Sharks themed trivia, which we end off, which will take us about 2
We've
minutes.
lost 7 viewers, by the way, but anyway.
We lost half of our viewership while we're doing this. All right, how many deep fried crab claws? How many deep fried crab claws do you get if you order deep fried crab claws?
2.
Yeah, how are we running this? What are we doing?
You get 4. That's right, Franco.
Yeah, 4.
What's the most expensive item? Is it the live barramundi steamed, or is it the Peking duck?
Depends on market price at the time.
Barramundi.
The duck, surely.
Peking duck. A whole Peking duck.
Bucks. The whole duck is $56, and the barramundi was $55 back in its day. What are the 4 items in the mixed entree from the King Juan restaurant?
Spring roll.
Dim sim. Prawn toast. And was there a dumpling?
Is it the samosa?
Curry puff.
Dumpling.
Prawn,
Curry puff? Samosa?
There's a prawn cutlet.
Prawn
cutlet. You're right. It was a prawn cutlet.
Oh, the cutlet.
Oh, God, I'll be impressed. I reckon lads can get this one. How much did the expensive banquet cost at the King One?
Per head.
Yeah, per head. I'm not inviting Teddy.
Hang on.
$58, surely.
I'm going to go with the expensive one, $48.60.
It's $38.
Oh.
Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. Three rolls, $4.
How much did
I'll
Petty
have
Gay
two.
give Barry Beats for his jersey before he cut it up?
$100.
$100.
How much did Latz spend on wasabi beef, his favourite?
Oh, my super.
All right, that was the trivia this week. I wasn't going to make Williams put his title on the line for just
I'll be requesting a count back.
I think that's probably fair. All right, well, look, that was the
We'll
ET
edit out the trivia.
Yeah, just done with the trivia.
It's
All
supposed
right,
to be a
anything else,
standalone video.
Anything else, Shark Chat, before we get out of here? Franco, you looking?
No, but I reckon I've got you covered on the quirky piece of trivia.
Oh, it's a quirky piece of memorabilia.
Yep. Sorry, memorabilia.
Yeah. You want to go next, lads?
Yeah, I'll go next. If I can get a hold of it, I'll have to see if it's still around.
Fair enough. Okay, all right. Well, before we get out of here, anything else Sharks related to chat about? Franco, did you give the CEO update a read? Anything for us to know on there?
Yeah, I've got a few things to bring up if you want me to. Little mini one. Ronaldo's 100th game this week, so good luck running.
Back where it all started, he made his debut at Suncorp. I'm not going to mention how it went.
Well, he didn't get much heads up that he was playing, so hopefully he's got a bit more time to get ready.
Josh Dugan injury in the warm up. Classic.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, you mentioned the CEO update, Boldo. You mentioned it. The Golden Bay Chinese has now opened up. It's overlooking the field and the bay. You guys can choose which view is more important to you. They also do game day packages. Whoever's running our YouTube and Spotify accounts, maybe they can pop the link to the new restaurant website there so that your viewers can check it out and see what's got to offer. But by all reports, it's got some good food and hopefully, like we said, mixed entree for all.
They were the previous owners of Sharkey that took over from the One, weren't they?
It is, yeah, correct. So, if you were happy with the food that was there towards the end of it, then you should still be happy. And I don't think I heard many complaints around that time. So all good. The new Sharks store should be opening up in just over a month near Woolworths in the Woolooware Bay precinct. So assuming all goes well, that'll be open before the end of the season and you can pick up your Sharks merch while picking up your groceries if you so happen to shop there. That's actually pretty exciting. Obviously, there's been a lot of chatter around the merch store opening up on Cronulla Street, but with the leasing of that sort of stalled proceedings. So it's good to finally find a home there that's not out at Karela Club. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the merch store over there, if we're going to man two, probably not, but it'd be nice to have some form of presence out there and sort of split the effort there. But yeah, I walked through that precinct not too long ago, actually, just this past weekend, and was keeping an eye out for what looked like some sort of development there for this, because we've known it's sort of going in there for a little while now. I didn't see anything, but admittedly, I was carrying a whole bunch of rubbish, so it was hard to devote some time to looking left and right. But that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to. Sorry, mate?
Carrying rubbish, you can't talk about merch.
What were you carrying Dragons merch for, Franco?
Yeah, well, now all good. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really excited. Obviously, CK will be excited. He can finally get his merch firsthand instead of online now, and he can make sure that it all fits this time. So brilliant. Now, the last few updates, we've had a bit of a joke about there's really nothing to report. So with the other update here on the club development, I'll sort of outline in a way about what we mean. Now, I'm about to say this not to target or attack anyone. It's certainly been spoken about plenty of times before about inheriting the current situation, but this is more of a way of tempering expectation on when the club might reopen. So the CEO update in February mentions, in relation to our club timeline, the roof is nearly completed. Assuming the works are completed on time and without significant variation, our anticipated timeline remains the same, with a planned Leagues Club opening in late 2024. Then the CEO update in March, following our report and the previous CEO update, with works now nearing completion on the Leagues Club roof, more specifically to do with necessary and required drainage. With the roof almost finished, we are now preparing to go to tender for contracts building the club fit out and the required works on the facade. Anticipated timeline remains the same, with a planned Leagues Club opening late 2024 or early 2025. Then the chairman's quarterly address, which was released in early April. We continue to work with the developers on the progression of the Leagues Club construction with the roof complete. However, drainage currently is now being installed. The CEO April update, which probably is paired with this one, regarding the club, we can report that the roof has been completed and we are working with the developers and their building partner to complete the necessary and required drainage, with works on the facade and club fit out to begin shortly after. A planned Leagues Club opening still in late 2024, early 2025. Then finally, in this CEO update for May, in news relating to the club, the roof and associated drainage is now complete. Yay! Plans are being finalised and builder will soon be appointed for the facade and the fit out. So that's 4 months to complete the roof and drainage. Still yet to finalise plans and need to pick a builder for both the facade and fit out. I think we can rule out 2024 as a completion date, but who knows? We obviously don't know the goings on behind the scenes, what was involved in that roof and drainage and what is still to be done on the facade and fit out. But I'm assuming it's unlikely to be done this year. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think we should have been a bit more assertive in what we wanted out of that Leagues Club build and gone a bit harder. I guess it's pretty hard when you're coming up against big corporations who want to get in first and get trading. But it's disappointing. It's just seems like it's gone on way too long and it could have been done quicker.
I think it goes hand in hand with our current capacity of stadium and any movement on upgrading seating, because I don't see us cheering a sellout crowd should be really sort of, which we trumpet every week that it's a sellout at 12,500. So I'd like to see those sort of things move. They probably should have gone quicker, but given, like Lat said, with different corporations, obviously supermarkets and the like were promised certain dates, so they got in first along with the hotel. So I think maybe it was one of those sort of final jigsaw pieces that has to be built around. But like we've all talked about and assessed, I don't see where other seating's going in unless they just wipe the hill and put a 15,000 seat stadium in. But I don't see that happening in the very near future at all. So
I think the growth in the stadium comes from the ET stand and knocking that down. I think is where.
I guess to be fair to management, though, they were sort of blindsided by the condition of the roof and by extension the facade there. They were expecting to not have to do any of that work and just launch into interiors. So it is a bit of an unforeseen event and that you've just got to deal with. And like I said, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, but this was more sort of to outline just how slow some of these things can progress with all the best intentions in place.
And you want it done right. We don't want to go back and redo it again. Like you want it done correct. So
I'm wondering what else has been compromised though, because I swear that where the Chinese restaurant is now, I thought that was going to be part of the Leagues Club bar area. I think that was the original designs, including the rooftop above, or the whatever above it was going to be a rooftop area with the pool and the like too. Maybe I misinterpreted the original designs from the development approval and the like back in 2019 or so. But yeah, surprised that is actually the final location of that and what the Leagues Club looks like. We all don't know, but was that a compromise? Is that something we dropped the ball on? It's just ongoing confusion, disappointment, frustration, uncertainty.
And as we all know, the way a lot of those football clubs run, like we need the pokey machines in there ASAP. That's
just been the thing's been mismanaged. They still running. It's been mismanaged, Chris. That thing.
Oh, I know, but what I'm saying is the longer we install those things, the longer those money doesn't come rolling in. Like you look at clubs like Canterbury and Parramatta and the Broncos and even Newcastle. even West still rely on those pokies turnovers, those revenues that come from it. As much as the devil we know, it's something that should be in there. And I agree it's mismanagement.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse the fact that, 50, 60, 70 years ago, the Cronulla Sharks Rugby League Club was granted a whole bunch of, land in the Sutherland Shire. And then since that time, the Rugby League Football Club has mismanaged that facility to the point now where we got a little bit of money in the bank and we've got a rectangular stadium and, like a non-optimal bloody football ground. So, it's pretty disappointing. And to not still have a leagues club coming out of that deal. And look, I know there's been a whole bunch of people that have inherited a whole bunch of situations, and these things are difficult. I'm not saying that could have done it better, but it is disappointing that we look at that big facility, and when Franco and I go to the KFC after a Sharks match, the Cronulla Sharks are not getting a single cent of money from us getting a 3-piece feed or a zinger boot.
That was selling the soul, though. That was the problem. Was we were on our
knees
and sold those things straight up.
The scenario those guys was in was difficult, but it's what
because I get asked the same thing. Like my parents go, "Is there going to be a car park somewhere?" And I just laugh. Like, no, that's a block of units. Like it wasn't in the plans because they had to just sell those things just for cash. That was the problem. And
the car park underneath is pretty good apparently and worked pretty well according to all reports.
Yeah, but I'm talking for a game day experience. Like you should have a car space for 10,000 people. Really,
it's true. All right. Well, look. Well, maybe we'll dedicate.
There's not a lot of NRL stadiums that have 10,000 car seats, though.
No, that's true.
You look at
Combank for all. Out of you fellas. We're probably
wait on.
Oh, you got more stuff for us.
I got more. I've got more. So you guys were talking about it while I was in the green room. So I've got to link this in. Through the week, we got a comment from @Blues4 around Iro and Talakai in the centres. And it says, whoever suggested putting Talakai back into the centres should be banned from YouTube. Second most run meters out of any forward, 44 post-contact meters, most of any forward, but 7 missed tackles. And you want to put him back in the centres. How has the turning circle of a bus? He's great where he is. Iro's had 1 blemish and people want to crucify him after 7 first-grade games. Now, I was the one who suggested it, and it had nothing to do with crucifying Iro. I did say that I like Iro, and I think he will have a long first-grade career ahead of him. However, as you yourself have mentioned, Talakai got the second most meters out of any forward and the most post-contact meters out of any forward. What we're skipping here is that he was only on the field for 37 minutes. Many would argue that he's one of our best players, and as such, is underutilized. Onto his defense, across the park, our team was uncharacteristically poor with the amount of missed tackles. Not to mention, he is now defending out of position. It's also worth remembering when he was in the centres, we were the best defensive team in the comp. So I don't think we should judge his defense on last year's efforts or this one match. However, here's the crux of it. This is not about either of their defense, nor is it their meterage made. It's about the threat that they pose and the opposition. As it stands, Talakai is a much bigger threat to the edge and creates more opportunities for the man either side of him, either by the space he creates, his silky hands, or even his boot to ball. Iro, unfortunately, hasn't shown that he can do that here. Not saying he can't do it, just that he hasn't produced it yet for all of us to see. Iro's got his shot because we were down on troops, and he's proven that he is a first grader. However, now, as circumstances have left us with Wilton being out, the topic gets a stay of execution. The facts are, when the team is fully fit, you want your best 17 playing, and with a bench on option of Ueli, Rudolph, Hunt, Tapua, and Williams, the upside of also having Talakai on the field for 80 minutes is just too good to ignore. This is certainly a developing scenario, and who knows, in 4 rounds' time, we could be asking if Wilton should be allowed back to just walk in, or if Talakai should stay in the back row. Overall, as they say, I'd rather have to make these tough decisions than have no choice at all.
That is one of the best rebuttals I think I've ever seen or heard from anyone ever. Given that I was worried that they wanted to ban me from YouTube because I've been calling for Talakai to come back, I've got to say you eloquently put that forward, that position Very well. I think we better make a reel out of that. All right. Well, I got
Point of
nothing
the
else to
show.
say after that. You heard it
Yeah.
first. You tell the guy.
You smashed it better than your P&G rebuttal.
All right, Lats, anything from you before we head out?
Origin predictions: Blues by 8.
Williams, Origin,
Yeah, Blues by 7.
Chris,
Nah, Queensland 14, New South Wales 10.
Franco.
Heart says Blues, head says Maroons. Yeah, I think we're going down by. I think it'll be a close one. We'll go down by 4.
I'm going to echo you there, Frank.
Chris
I reckon the Blues.
All
I
three
reckon
of
the
them by
Blues
4.
go down by.
Nice. Bunch
I
of
don't know.
fence sitters.
Blues go down by 3 points. Let's say from random point school. Don't know. Just going to say that. All right, that was the ET Stand Fan podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining with us and putting up with us, knuckleheads. We'll be back Saturday night after full time for the debrief post the Brisbane Broncos and the Cronulla Sharks. We thank everyone for watching. And I was gonna let SJD's comment go there, but someone just took it off. We'll talk to you more, SJD. Well, we did at the same time. We'll talk to you more, SJD, during the week or on the weekend. We can see how that goes. This was the ET Stand. We'll see you guys next Saturday.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.